Hi there. So in this video, I'm going to talk about note naming and spelling chords. Now, I want to make a real clear distinction about a couple things about improvising that are important. When you improvise, you really don't want to be thinking about the name of every note or spelling every chord. You don't necessarily want to improvise by playing all the notes of every chord or making that really obvious that you know how to spell the chords. This is a bit of a stepping stone. At some level, you want to be at a place in your playing where a lot of your responses are automatic. You hear things and you don't have to think about them in order to process them and make music come out of your instrument. No matter what interface your instrument asks you to deal with. That could be a ligature and a mouthpiece and keys. It could be piano keys. It could be strings. It could be your bow. It could be all kinds of different musical interfaces that you need to get what you're expressing across. Anyway, so when you improvise, you don't want to be overthinking things. My friend Todd Johnson calls this a paralysis by analysis. You don't want to be in paralysis by analysis. That's not a good way to play. So you want to get to a level where most of what you play has kind of an intuitive, immediate reaction response time. Okay, that all said, this part of what I'm talking about is the opposite. This isn't about what you should think about while you play. This is about how to use your practice time in the practice room. One of the things that you really need to know, no matter what kind of music you're playing, pretty much any kind of music you want to play, you'll need to know about harmony, spelling chords, and I think of it like having a compass that tells you that if you're looking at the North Shore Mountains, you're going north. If you can spell the chords and hear the notes that you're playing, and be able to move from note to note, hear the pitches, play them, you'll know where you are in the music. And this often takes a lot of very slow practice time. If we're talking about one of my favorite books called Thinking Fast and Slow, Daniel Kahneman, this is system 2 thinking. It's like long division. It takes time. So the first thing we're going to do when we practice note naming is get rid of the metronome. We're not going to have the pressure of having to find those notes in time. Is not part of what we're doing right now. All right, so you'll see a graphic I'll put up down there. I'll put down that will show you a very simple diatonic chord progression. And what I'm going to do is demonstrate as if I didn't know how to play in C major, which some days is still true. And I'm going to show you how I would have you do this. Okay, so the first chord is the C major triad. We need to find a C. The third of that chord would be an E. Now I don't play until I've said it. The fifth of the C major triad is G. Okay, the next chord is an F major triad. I need to find F. The third would be A. And the fifth would be C. Okay, wait till you say it before you play it. We're not in time. We're not playing with other musicians right now. I wouldn't recommend you do this in a group. You don't want to have to name notes together. It's a solo activity. Okay, B diminished. Find a B. The third is D. The fifth is F. E minor. E. There we go. The third is G. And the fifth is B. A minor. We need to find an A. C is the third. And the fifth is E. D minor. D is the root. The third is F. And the fifth is A. G7. We're going to find 4 notes now. G is the root. The third is B. The fifth is D. And the seventh is F. And then we're back at C major, C, E, G. Now you'll notice I took my time, and sometimes it's going to take you a while. Now, especially if we change keys. Let's move this up a semitone, just one semitone up. D flat major now. D flat, F, what's the fifth? A flat. G flat major, G flat. Third is B flat. Fifth is D flat. Now we've got C diminished, C, E flat, and the fifth is G flat. Okay, now we're moving on to F minor. The root is F, the third is A flat, and the fifth is C. Then we're in B flat minor, B flat, the third is D flat, and the fifth is F. Then we're in E flat minor, E flat is the root, the third is G flat. The fifth is B flat. Okay, and then we've got our dominant chord, 4 notes. A flat is the root. The third is C. The fifth is E flat. And the seventh is G flat. And then we're back to D flat major, D flat, F, A flat. Okay, so you can see just moving it up a semitone, we added a bunch of black keys. We had to think about flat notes, and that takes a little bit more processing time, a little bit more time to think about that. Also, I'll point out, for this whole class, almost all the theory and chord spelling and chords that we're doing are going to be in root position. So we haven't moved into inversions, and we haven't moved into voice leading. What I'm talking about with that is, let's go back to C major and imagine I played C major here, C, E, G. The closest F major would be this one here with A, C, F, right? And then going on to the B diminished would be root position, B, D, F. The E minor, I can stay put, and it would be B, E, G. Those chords have inversions, so that I don't have to move my hands all around the keyboard. I can stay in, closer areas and make the voice leading work. It's literally that. Leading the voice moving by step rather than leaping around. Okay, Ken Morrison will tell you that better than I will in theory class, but that's just something to think about, that we're going to stick with root position for a lot of our work. Note naming should be done about once a week. It's not as much fun as creative work in your off-leash park where you're making up your own songs and coming up with your own ideas. But if we do this every week, we'll do C, F, B flat, E flat, 12 keys, 12 weeks, and we'll actually be fluent with spelling chords in 12 keys. Okay, so here's a version of note finding for guitar players. Now, on this instrument, one of the biggest problems is you read the note C. Which C do they mean? Could it be that one, or 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 that one? Now, some of those are in higher octaves, some are lower octaves, so you'd be able to tell by the octave, but you still have a number of choices. What I'm after for improv students and people that are learning about reading notes and finding notes quickly is to have a favorite place to find the notes where a lot of things are available. From there, you can move below that note and above that note, but really you've got a comfortable place to start. You don't want to have option anxiety where you've got so many choices on the guitar that it's driving you crazy. What I'm saying is pick a note, pick a favorite place, and start from there. Which is why we've got the 10 types of seventh chords to work on every week. I want you to be able to quickly finger and play those 10 types of chords on your instrument. And then you've got something to start from, and you can always work towards modifying that. But start with a familiar place. All right, so with note naming, we'll do exactly what we did with piano just a minute ago. We're going to take a diatonic chord progression in C. Now remember, this is not how you need to think when you're playing jazz. When you're playing, I want you not to think as much. Doing this kind of work slowly and consciously will put together the body-mind associations of the sound of the note, the feeling of the note, where it lies on your instrument, what you have to do with your embouchure or your valves or your reeds or whatever part of your interface with the instrument that you're dealing with will become more and more familiar to you if you spend slow time, perhaps 1 day a week, doing this kind of work. So a C major triad in the first chord here. I need to find a C. I'm going to grab the 3rd fret A string. Okay, the next note, the 3rd of a C major triad, is an E. I didn't play it before I said it. The 5th is G. F major triad, F, A, and the 5th is C. B diminished, B, D, and the flat 5th is F. E minor, don't have to tell guitar players how to find that. E, the 3rd is G, and the 5th is B. Okay, A minor, A, the 3rd is C, the 5th is E. D minor, D, the 3rd is F, and the 5th is A. G7, the root is G, the 3rd is B, the 5th is D, and the 7th is F. Back home to C major, C, 3rd is E, 5th is G. Now, I actually did that a lot quicker than you might want to do it. Some days when you practice, you need to go a whole lot slower and just have the discipline to spend maybe 10 minutes on a set of chords like that, where you really get inside naming those notes and make sure you know what your fingers are doing. Don't have these things get you in trouble. Tell them what to do. Fingers are your workers. You tell them what job to do rather than letting them just play. I always say we've heard a lot of music. Everybody's heard music that's played by fingers and hands and technique and not heart and soul and expression. So I think if you're in charge of the notes you want to play and the sounds you want to get with some intention, your music will go a lot farther. I'll do the same demonstration now I did on piano. Let's move it up a semitone. So in D flat, same chord progression. D flat major is D flat, F, A flat. The next chord was G flat major, so G flat is the root. The 3rd is B flat, and the 5th is D flat. Okay, and now we're moving on to the 7th chord, so that's C diminished 7, C, E flat, G flat. Okay, and then we're moving on to F minor, and that's F. The 3rd is A flat, and the 5th is C. Then B flat minor, and that's B flat. The 3rd of that chord is D flat, and the 5th is F. And then E flat minor, so that's E flat, and the 3rd is G flat, and the 5th is B flat. Notice I'm not playing anything until I've said the name of the note. Okay, the 5 chord now, the dominant chord on A flat is A flat, and the 3rd is C, and the 5th is E flat, and the 7th is G flat. And then we're back home to D flat major triad, D flat, F, A flat. So try that every week. Spend a day, take a chord progression, and make sure that you're naming the notes before you play the notes at all. Okay, so your fingers are following your intention.